From around our globe, they gather in iRacing's virtual universe. Each warrior armed with a sim racing set of pedals and a sim racing steering wheel manufactured by various companies, too many to list. But in common for each soldier, a hunger to battle and a thirst to do so as quickly and as queenly as their talents allow. Today's battlefield, a place known simply as the Glen. The rules of engagement, the open-wheeled sword that is the Skippy. The spoils, when this 5 skirmish war is over, for one elite swan, a crown. For all, the honor of satisfying their hunger and quenching their thirst. Sanctioned by the Absolute Beginner League from historic Watkins, Glen, this is the Global SimRacing Channel's opening round coverage of the Formula Neagle Season 23 Championship, and all the simulated Skippy action from green flag to victory donut streams your way live as it happens right here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Happy 2021 and welcome to yet another GSRC broadcast and another Formula Neagle season. Way up the press box to bring you our Word's Eye view, it's DJ Clark alongside yours truly, Bill Suits On. Sean Ambrose has director duties with cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Today's racing venue in many configurations, barefoot or booted, inner looped or not, but no matter its shape, Watkins Glen has long been a favored destination for many a sim racing series. The last time Formula Neagle visited here was just last season. Two-time champ David Burns won the pole. Two-time champ Lee Anderson won the race. Let's take a GSRC near and intimate look at Watkins Glen.
Welcome to Watkins Glen International. Situated in upstate New York, just south of the Finger Lakes, this track has seen it all. Few road circuits can boast hosting Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and IMSA during its history. Though it did have a brief fallow period in the early 80s, thanks to the investment of local companies, it's grown into one of the premier road tracks in the U.S. With 4 layouts to choose from that range between 2.5 and 3.5 miles in length, lap times can vary greatly. But it also means it's suitable for lots of different levels of racing, from amateur to pro. The one thing that stays consistent no matter which car and which layout you're using is that Watkins Glen means speed. Many of the straights are very long, and the majority of the corners are fast sweepers. Some of them include a surprising amount of banking as well. Combine that with the proximity of the barriers, and this historic circuit retains a very old-school feel. Drivers in lesser-powered cars can expect drafting battles, while higher-powered machinery will test the skill and bravery of their pilots. Some of the turns are visually iconic, such as the carousel and the S's. Others, like the inner loop, the chute, and turn 9, greatly challenge even the expertly skilled. And of course, we haven't even mentioned the drastic amount of elevation change drivers experience. Between its rich history and popularity among drivers, this track stays busy and seems likely to be that way for a long, long time.
A look at Watkins Glen, and now it's my privilege to welcome back to the broadcast for another season my booth partner, DJ Clark. DJ, welcome.
Thanks, Soup. Well, we are back once again at Watkins Glen, and as this track is wont to do, we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to be running the inner loop, which means that little bootleg coming off the long back straightaway is going to be present, but we will be going through the full boot, which means you've got the chute, the toe, the boot, the heel, the laces, the whole 9 yards, as you work your way around this 11-mile circuit. As we saw last time these Skippies were here, though, the best place to get a pass done is going to be going up the S's down that long back straight, taking full advantage of that draft. That's where we're going to see all of our fun today.
It is indeed. You know, that inner loop, that really changes up the carousel a bit. When you go in there full speed, it's a totally different corner than when they put that inner loop in there, isn't it? It
really is. You have to get down to about second, third, fourth gear, depending on what your setup is in these skippies. It's not a full brake chicane, but you've got to ease onto it, slowly get the power on. It's not like that long right-hander you'd be taking normally if it wasn't there. It completely changes it, and frankly, it makes passing a little bit more difficult because there's really only one lane you can take into that little bus stop chicane.
Indeed. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the point standings. Now, since this is the opening round of season 23, obviously we have no points to show you, but we can review what happened last season. There is Lee Anderson. He won 4 of 6 races to claim his second straight championship. Now, the rumors are that he will not be back to defend that championship, so it's really going to open it up to some of the other drivers. Another rumor that was the Bushfink gang was going to make a return. That's Errol Num coming back, but there was a conflict with some of his other iRacing commitments, so he won't be here either. You see David Burns. Now, despite being shut out of victory lane for the first time since season 19, David Burns, well, he did enough to wear the bridesmaid's gown. How about the junkyard dog, Youst Junk? He had fun at Spa Day there where he picked up a win. Look for him to pick up a few more this season. He's a real contender for the championship. Ryan Walker was the only driver with perfect attendance on the overlay, earning him a well-deserved 4th in the points. And Eric Lukel rounds out the graphic. Let's look at the team championship. And as it has been for many a season, it is, well, it's 2 stupid dogs. There they are, Vincent Bream and David Third Degree Burns, really the dominant team there. You can see the rest of the guys that just participated. You see a Bushfink name in there. We were hoping for a little bit more of that, but that's not going to happen. How about we look at the F2 championship, D-Day?
Well, the F2 championship, this is for the drivers who have a lower I rating than everybody else. Eric Lukel really putting in a mega performance in the second half of the season to get his way up to the top of those standings with 73 points. Christopher Crook putting in consistency after consistent race to come home in second. Wojciech Podolczak, the series organizer, in third with one of the most heated battles across any of the firms. Any of the series, coming home in third, 49 points, 1 point ahead of Christopher Giros, with John Torpy making his way up there into 5th place with 42 points.
For season 23, we'll try to cover both drivers' championships with equal enthusiasm. All right, we have been covering the Formula Neagle since season 5. We're in season 23 now. If you haven't been watching us, where you been? But for those new viewers just getting here, here's DJ with the event details.
Well, we are here for the newest season of Formula Neagle, and as you see, we are racing the immortal and fast and fun Skip Barber cars. This is the 23rd season, round 1 of that season. As always, it is a 40-minute race, a 15-minute qualifying, which we are in the middle of right now. It is an open setup, so drivers are able to bring in whatever suits their driving style, whatever suits the track that they're on. The only caveat being is that there is a 51% fuel limit, so these drivers are going to have to come into the pits at some point during the course of the race. Now, a quick change from those regular Formula Neagle viewers, we're changing up the bonus points this year. You get bonus points for the fastest lap and being in the top 3 again, but you also get bonus points if you are on the lead lap at the checkered flag. So watch for guys trying to play strategy right to take full advantage of those bonus points.
There you have it. All right, with that said, let's see what qualifying is like. Now, this is going to be a draft track, so qualifying on this place, not all that important as long as you're near the front. You should be in the front train. Well, no surprise, DJ, who you see sitting at the top of the charts right now.
It's a name that's familiar to us all. David Third Degree Burns taking good advantage of that draft, Soup. And I agree with you. Qualifying's not going to be as key, but I do think you're going to be, as there goes the junkyard dog. Youst Junk popping up the charts all the way up to first place, about a 10th up on Burns. But as I was saying, you're probably going to want to be in the top 5, top 10. We've seen that first corner here at Watkins Glen get a little bit squirrely, and so I think you're going to want to get towards the pointy end of the field. May not want to be first. You may not want to be a sitting duck for the draft, but you at least want to be up the charts.
Let's give him some love while it lasts. Car number 666. How about Frederick Neptune? Sitting in 4th. Don't know if that's going to hold up. There's still a lot of qualifying left to go, but Nice to see him up there. DJ, one of the interesting things about qualifying in this series, it's open qualifying. Find yourself somebody to hang on to.
Find yourself a partner and swing and do-si-do, as they say. The big thing that's going to play into consideration here, and you see it playing out as we watch Frederick Neptune, as you said, currently 4th. You want to get behind somebody, take full advantage of that draft coming down that long run off the corner. That's why everybody's sort of clumped here, and we frankly got this very large section of open track. It's kind of funny to look at the track map, but you see Neptune here working his way out of the toe. That's turn 7 and down here. Not really enough downforce in these cars to upset the handling as you go through some of the slower corners. So really, really good job by everybody to find a partner and get as fast as you can.
Talking big picture, we'll have to talk the small length of the series. Only 5 races and with no drop races. Man, if you make a mistake, if you have a bad result, you don't have a lot of time to recover from that. You've really got to make sure you get the points on all of these 5 events.
You really don't. I mean, if we look at some of the rookies we had last year that put in some amazing performances, Andre Solander, Manuel Lucetta, some of those guys really, really putting on good races, but making some errors with the pit stops early on, as well as Reese Saunders, if you remember from the first race of last season.
Yep.
Looked like they were going to be title contenders, but that one pit stop error put them out of the top 5 for the whole series.
Which really just exemplifies, highlights how good David Burns is and Lee Anderson was to have a pair of championships when one mistake takes you out of the hunt. Yeah, they're short seasons, but nevertheless. How about car number 18? Can we take a quick look at him? It's Johan Vanderbilt. He is back. He says he's going to get a podium out here today. I don't know. Right now he's got a little work to do, sitting in 9th, right behind Eric Lukal and Andre Solander.
Well, we saw Eric Lukal take full advantage of the draft last year at the Nürburgring, so I'd be a little leery of Eric starting in 6th. But yeah, we had a chance to talk to Johan. He likes his chances for this race, thinks the track suits him, so we'll be excited to see what he can do.
Gonna jump you around a little bit. How about car number 45? It's Bambi. He's got himself a championship under his belt. Sitting right there. Of course, we're talking about Neil Bamber, currently qualifying in 5th. He's kind of in a pack right now. He's chasing Christopher Garros, and he's got the veteran Vincent Bream right behind him on track. And you talked about it in just a minute ago with Wojciech Polacek leading that 4-car train and qualifying. Find yourself a partner.
You got to find yourself a partner, and Wojciech doing a very, very good job. He's currently sat 4th in the standings right now. In some of our pre-race gossip, there were a lot of guys saying that Wojciech's really found some speed in the offseason, so I think he's going to be a dark horse to watch this year, Sue.
They did. They also heard some mention of Solander has upped his game a little bit as well. Should be interesting to see. We got a nice mix of veterans and rookies coming in. Always get a new name shows up and surprises us all. I want to look at car number 302. I talked about Bushfink. This is Ricard Allard, and we'll watch these guys come across as they finish their lap. But I'll go ahead and talk about Ricard Allard, the Canadian or the Scandinavian who's come back to race. He's a Bushfink. He was going to race with Aero Num, 8-time champion. As I mentioned that, Allard jumps up into 2nd. A little touch of magic there from Soup. Watch out for him.
Watch out for him, but David Burns putting himself back above him in 2nd. Vincent Bream behind him in 3rd, but Yus Jonk just going faster and faster and faster here. Currently 1.7 ahead of the rest of the field. There you see Allard on your screen. But this top 5, Soup, separated by less than a half a second. I think this is going to be a good race across the board.
Yeah, I think a half second is close enough that nobody is going to go anywhere. We're going to look at a long train. We got ourselves a 43-car field right now. 37 have been able to put in qualifying times. Formula Neagle notorious for large fields, especially to start the season. We got a pretty big one here today. We'll do our best to get as much screen time to the drivers as possible. There's Andy Saunders.
And there on your screens, Christian Perez. Christian currently sat down in 15th. about 1.1 seconds off the pace as he works his way out of that turn 11. That's a really, really tricky corner to get right. It's really deceptive, super, super fast. You've got to just brush the brakes, try to scrub off as little speed as possible. But he powers down the main straightaway here, puts in a 210.580. That's a good lap for him, but it looked like that one didn't count. He must have had an off track somewhere.
And now if you watch on the tower, you're going to think everything stay pretty much stationary here for the next 15 seconds or so. And then the entire field is going to come across the line. You're going to see everybody jump around as we're working on our last lap. These guys hurrying to get in their time. There's probably 25 drivers going to be coming across the line here before I finish my exhale here. Leading it is Eric Lukal. He's going to be first of the group.
And here comes Lukal crossing the line. He got some good draft there. And there goes Vincent Bream. Bream unable to improve. Dell looks like he is unable to improve as well as Ludwig Sauer. Frederick Neptune, definitely got into some problems. He's about a second off his fastest time, so he is not going to be able to improve on that. Johan Vanderbilt, though, jumping up to second place. So there he goes. That speed promise was real.
He said he was going to get there. The fan belt sitting in second now. Christopher Garros makes his appearance inside the top 5. Looking at Turner.
Yeah, Turner coming across. Here comes Troy Banks, the Georgia driver, coming across the line. He's pushing through that final corner, runs the car wide, keeps it nice and easy and collected under him. He's going to try to beat that 213. He's all the way back down in 31st. Looks like he is unable to improve. Mackenzie Mann also very slow on that lap, so Mackenzie's going to be starting all the way down in 34th. Andy Saunders here crossing the line, and looks like he is able to improve, but just barely. That's going to jump him up a couple of spots as here comes Christian Perez.
Perez will be very, very fast. Watch out for him. He's been coming on each season, getting quicker and quicker. Watch for him to hopefully pick up a top 10 finish this time around. We have the drivers meeting going on right now. Just a few more drivers to come in and post their time, and then we'll hustle over and get our grid call. We'll take them 10 at a time. There it is. I told you to watch out for him, and he's got in there with Christian Perez jumping to the top.
Always great to see a new name on the top of the field. This is going to make things very, very interesting as the last driver here, or the penultimate driver, excuse me, to come across the line, Wesley Johnson. Wesley has not set a time yet, but he is very, very, very slow. That is well off the pace. So it looks like even if he does put in a time, he's going to be well down the field. But here comes Tom Dell, currently sat in 26th, seeing if he's able to improve.
Out of the final corner number 11. Now he's going to just put the skinny pedal down and head towards the finish line. He's sitting in 26. Let's see if he can better that time. He comes across. He does not. That's where he's going to remain. All right, let's go to the grid right now. Season 23 Formula Neagle about to get underway, and we got ourselves a brand new, fresh and tasty pole sitter. It is Christian Perez. He's going to be inside of Yush Young. Johan Vanderbilt is in the 3rd position, flanked by David Third Degree Burns, 2-time champion. Christopher Garros sits in 5th inside of Vincent Bream. The next row has Ricardo Lard and Wojciech Podolczyk, and then 9th and 10th go to Anders Lander and Taylor Reeder.
Bringing the car home in 11th to start off the day is going to be Christopher Crook, followed by Neil Bamber in 12th. In row 7 will be Eric Lukal and Manuel Lucetta. Ludwig Sauer and Josh Brain going to be lining up behind them in row 8. Frederick Neptune, the Trident, starting off in 17th, followed by Nick Carty in 18th. And rounding out the top 20 will be Michael Gustafsson and Cooper Collier in 19th and 20th.
Hidden Blackjack is Eric Lundberg, and the double spot Jeffrey Bauer, Ari Seahas, and Kai Alstad go in the next row. JTM, it's Joe Turner McMullen in the quarter-century mark inside of Tom Dell with Merrick Leolis inside of the next row with Patrick O'Leary flanking him. 29th and 30th, it's Peter Reed and Andy Saunders.
In 31st is going to be Troy Banks, followed by Tom Holland, Craig Schill, and Mackenzie Mann going to be lining up behind them in row 17. 35th will be Jason Guerrara, followed by Tito Bonilla. In 36th, 37th will be Paul Clark, followed by Steve Libretto, Wesley Johnson, and Lionel Chavez. Those last 3 did not set a time.
Then a few more that didn't go in there. You saw Kelly, Cohan, and Lloyd as well, hoping to get in the mix. We got ourselves 37 drivers who put in time and another 6 that are hoping to grid up. Well, glad you're with us here. Formula Neagle Season 23. We're going to do it one more time. Our pole sitter, Christian Perez. We'll see what he has in store for these veterans, Just Junk and Johan Vanderbilt. David Burns sitting in 4th position. It should be a good one. Look for draft early. Hopefully everyone will behave up front. Gigi and I got through the entire field. We're going to get our commentator's bonus. You can hear those engines start to harmonize now. One more time. Gather up the chickens, take covering on the cows. The horses are out of the barn. And it is indeed Christian Perez leading the Stampede into the 90. The sweeping right-hander that is the first corner. Junk, Vanderbilt go in 2nd and 3rd. 4th and 5th are Burns and Garros.
Familiar names to all up front, as it looks like the majority of the field able to get through the 90 nice and clean. And here is the start of the draft train that we talked about. Christian Perez going to be a sitting duck here. Just Junk already right up behind, and just as they come out of the S's, Junk pokes his nose out to the outside. Ooh, and here comes Vanderbilt up the middle.
It's going to be a race down into the chicane. Who's going to get there first? It's the white and blue car of the fan belt. Junk now in 2nd position, Perez behind him. Burns and Garros holding position. You know, DJ, we've watched David Burns race a lot. Having him back there watching the show in front of him, that's what he does.
He loves that popcorn position. Couple of cars getting a little off kilter there in the back, but we're going to stay up front here as you see Johan Vanderbilt just continuing to lead here. An amazing move, splitting the difference between Junk and Vanderbilt, but Burns just sitting back and watching with Garros and Bream starting already to pull away from this field.
Actually, the big name that got off pace there was Vincent Bream there in car number 26, who had a little bit of off. That is David Burns' teammate for Two Stupid Dogs, now racing back in 13th. He keeps it going. Meanwhile, up in front, they are in a long train. How far does the train go? You can see on your screen. Looks like it only goes back to about 6 with Allard, the caboose.
Yeah, Allard doing a good job to keep up behind everybody there. As they now work their way around these last 2 corners to finish their first lap. But it is Vanderbilt leading Junk, Perez, Burns, Garros, and Allard. Wojciech Podacek trying to hold on there in 7th place, but he's already starting to fall off a little bit, so that could be a bit of a problem for him. But this leading train, this is going to be where the action's at as they cross the line, and give credit to Johan Vanderbilt for leading that first lap.
Johan Vanderbilt stepped away from iRacing for a little bit. He says that he has found love in his life, and that got him back into the spirit of racing in iRacing. Unfortunately, he can only be with his romantic other half on the weekends. He has this weekend free. We're not going to see him for a full season, but it's good to see him back right now. Despite his current romantic situation, Just Junk right now is all over him as they're going to be side by side, putting the mayonnaise back in the jar. There goes Christian Perez.
Perez doing the same move that Vanderbilt did on that last lap, diving down the middle of the inside. Junk moves his way up to 2nd. Vanderbilt down to 3rd, and put Christopher Garros up a spot there over David Burns. Ricardo Allard holding on to the back right now. This is really some hectic action up front. Not used to normally seeing 3 wide. These leaders like to keep it relatively calm. We'll have to see if that trend develops or if they're going to keep going at it this whole race.
Garros went through and Burns just waved him by, said, you go for it. We still got a lot of racing to go. Burns and Allard, the 2 veterans, sitting back there watching. Let's drop back to 7th position. We talked about him. He's up to speed. We're talking about Wojciech Podacek in car number 28. I think, DJ, he's close enough that maybe he can get in the toe of Allard there and get up with the front guys.
He's going to be just close enough on that. Normally these skippies, we say about a 2 to 1.5 seconds is where you're going to get it, and you can really see him closing up there through the heel. that is turn 8 here as they work their way up into turn 9. So this is, in my opinion, one of the trickiest cars of the track. You can see the rear end of Potacek's car starting to step out. Very, very hard to find the apex. It's a blind crest left-hander, but now they're going to get back on the power, get through these fast last 2 corners. Potacek at this rate should be able to get some of that draft and hopefully pull up to the cars in front.
We're going to jump you back now. We're going to come off board. We're going to go car number 63 in 8th position. This is Christopher Crock. We'll talk about the back half of your top 10 a little bit. He's in a battle with Manuel Lucchetta. Now, remember, Lucchetta was really quick last season. Right now, he's out of the draft, and he's under attack. Here comes, no, that is Lucchetta. No, that's Lucal getting in there. Sorry. Lucal in the lighter colored car. Lucchetta going really wide through one.
Lucal really pushing the pressure there on Lucchetta that forces him to go wide. It's a really good move, but I have to think that if Lucal was just a little bit more patient, he may have let that play out better and take full advantage of the double draft ahead of him. As such, right now, he's going to get boxed in there by Lucchetta. Lucchetta tries to squeeze him as they work their way around Christopher Crook in front, and there you can see, Soup, that is Eric Lucal just getting caught out by that move.
Solander picks up position now as Lucal drops back into 11. Good racing all the way through the field. Hard to get away from that one. You're not missing anything up front. They are pretty much settled down. You know, DJ, a lot of times the guys up front aren't quite as exciting as the guys in the back, and they seem to be settling in a little bit up front. I can report, though, that we talked about Potacek. He was able to get there.
He was, normally what we see is that the drivers up front sort of go, you know what, I'm going to wait until after the pit stops to get really crazy and put the fun in. But these guys behind, they are just racing tooth and nail every single lap, and that's exactly what they're doing here as you see everybody starting to fan out there behind these drivers, just trying to find anything. We ride on board looking backwards from Manuel Lucchetta's car. You can see there Christopher Kirk right behind him trying to find anything. Very, very hard to get a pass done through the heel of 8 and 9. You really have to be careful. The next chance you've got to really get a good move on is probably going to be that turn 1 area.
So just to give you an overview, you have 7 cars up front. Then you have a 5-car train led by Lucchetta, who's trying to catch up. But he's got about 2.5 seconds to make up to Potacek, who's the caboose now, racing in 7th position of that front train. Coming around, going to complete lap number 3. Go, GG.
No, I was just going to say, and that's going to be a very, very hard gap to make up. What will make it interesting, though, is when we get into the pit stops, if anybody gets the strategy wrong, we saw a lot of guys last season try to go for an undercut early, and it did not work, and that put them back into the grasp of those drivers behind. So we'll have to keep an eye and see if that happens. But right now, this 2-pack race really, really starting to develop as they get their way up through the S's. We'll have to see here if any of these leading pack drivers decide to poke their nose out at all. We ride on board with Perez. Looks like Perez thought about making a move. Now he's just going to stick back in line.
Here comes Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, no, they touch! Vanderbilt is off. I think it's going to be okay. He's got the car. He's going to come back and join him. We'll certainly have a slowdown penalty. Hello, I'm back. Now let's see how much that cost you. We're going to look at this one, DJ. This could have been a lot worse for the fan belt.
It could have been, as there you see they dive in. I think Johan just didn't fully anticipate where Perez was going to be. He may have a little bit of damage there as you saw that wheel pop off the car ever so slightly, the new damage model taking effect. He's currently sitting about 0.8 of a second behind the leaders. Watching the car, looks like there's a little bit of understeer coming through there, but it's not anything too crazy. But he is losing a lot of time to those drivers in front.
What this could mean, though, to drivers like Crook and Lucchetta and Solander is they've got themselves a stepping stone up to the front guys now. If they can get on the back of Vanderbilt, maybe get in his toe, and then work their way back up to Potacek now, who races in 6th, trying to leave the fan belt behind. Boy, look, I really think you're right. When I look at Vanderbilt really wrestling the car now to try to keep up with him.
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit of damage just somewhere. It can be hard to tell sometimes, but you're completely right that Lucchetta and Crook and Solander, this second pack, are absolutely licking their lips. This is going to put Vanderbilt within about 1.5 seconds of them. So that draft just barely starts to take effect, but that's going to be just enough to pull them up close to him. So this is exactly what these guys needed to close the gap to the leaders.
We go up front, and again, they are peaceful. Now, keep in mind that out in front is Yush Young, but maybe they're happy to let him do that. They all start with the same amount of fuel. Doesn't mean they burn the same amount of fuel. Let's see if Perez wants to get out there and do a little work right now. He pulls to the outside. I think Garros and Allard and certainly Burns are happy just to sit where they are and watch.
Well, it's a move that we've seen David Third Degree Burns do time and time again. Just sit back, let people lead in front, let them battle, and then pick up the pieces if something goes wrong. Or, almost as important, save that little bit of extra fuel. Go one extra lap on the tank. Remember, you may not, have to worry about how much time you're stationary in the pits or anything like that, or some sort of crazy strategy about, well, if I can do this, then I can get a yellow at some point. But what is most important is you put less fuel in the tank. Less fuel in the tank, if you're able to go that one lap longer, means you're stationary for less time, and sometimes that's all you need to get ahead.
So the front runners seem to be a little bit more behaved. Christian Perez now, our pole sitter, back out in front. Let's drop back and look at these guys that are trying to run him down. Lucchetta was leading this pack, but now Crook is in front of him. He's got about 1.5 seconds to get up to Vanderbilt, and if he can get there, then it's only another second up to Potocek. So there's hope for these guys to get up.
Exactly, Soup. Nobody's exactly out of this yet, and Watkins Glen is one of those tricky corners. Is there you see that is ahead of Lucchetta. Ooh, getting on by. That is Christopher Crook. Some really good battles, but Lucchetta able to hold it off. The problem these guys have to worry about is they need to be playing nice with each other and using each other's cars to get to the front of the queue instead of just battling here. That's allowing for Vanderbilt to pull away a little bit from them, and that's not what you want to have happen.
Remember, Manuel is up 6 spots from where he started. He is one of our hard chargers. I want to drop back and look at Eric Lukel. He was our F2 champion, car number 42. He's working on the inside right now of Taylor Reeder, a newcomer. They continue the battle, watching the whole thing. Ludwig Sauer, he's an F2 driver as well. Frederick Neptune, Neil Bamber back there in 15th position.
Yeah, they're just watching this happen as here we see Lukel, I would argue to call one of the draft masters of this Formula Neagle series as he starts to pull out to the outside. It looks like he pulled out a little bit early, didn't get that timing exactly right though coming out of the S's. That's such a tricky maneuver to get right, Soup, because you've got to just get the slingshot perfect. You can't lift hardly ever, otherwise you'll kill your momentum. As things get really dicey in front of them, they go 2x2 through the outer loop.
Not missing anything up front. The battle is still close. They're in single file. They swap position from time to time. This, what you're looking at, what our director has found, this is where the action is.
One, action indeed, as there's the first major wreck we've seen.
That was Tito Bonilla. He got loose, went to the outside, and then he collected. I believe the car behind him was Andre Salander, had nowhere to go. Benito gets loose, Salander finds him.
Oh, and I think he banged up to one of the cars in front of him. What's particularly heartbreaking about that situation is Bonilla was a couple of laps down, actually. It looks like he had a pit lane start. So that's definitely going to hurt him a little bit.
You know, our director has been doing this for a long time, and he's got what we call spidey sense. He knew it was coming. Well done, Sean Ambrose, on that one. We look at our leaders right now. Perez, Yunk, Guerros, Allard.
Everybody keeping relatively calm here, but Guerros looks like he's going to be in the best position here. Very, very close behind Yunk. Going to see what he can do. They have to peel off a little bit. He wants to back it up ever so slightly. You can see the multiple lines you can take through the 90, through that first corner. That's totally fine. You don't get an off track for going that wide. But here we go up through the S's, and who's going to time this right and who wants to make a move right now?
Want to talk about the point system here. The guys in Formula Neagle, they are sneaky smart. They give you a point, a bonus point for leading a lap. That's because they don't want people like David Burns. They want to give them a little incentive to at least try to lead a lap one time. They also give you bonus points for most laps led. That means Yunk and Perez out there trying to pick up that bonus point, even though it may cost them a little fuel. And then the rest of the guys sitting back there, Allard seems to be very fast. Don't forget about Potocek, back in 6th.
Yeah, I think anybody back from about, I would say, Allard back, Allard, Burns, and Potocek, they're the ones that I'm going to be watching in the second half of this race. Right now, it looks like Perez and Yunk are totally happy to swap positions. They're not getting super aggressive, but you see Christian Perez there having to slam on the brakes a little bit harder than I think he'd like to. That, in turn, checks up the back of the field. He's going to poke his nose down the inside. I can't believe if he's actually going to try to make a pass. No, he's going to stick back into line there behind Yus Yunk. But Christopher Giros getting a little feisty there behind him, looking for a move down the inside.
As they work through the heel of the boot, they get that sorted out. Now they get to the corner that DJ was talking about. Corner 5 at Road Atlanta, corner 6 at Laguna Seca, and corner 9 here. These are my Achilles heel. I hate corner 9 at the Glen. These guys managed to do it without a problem. Now they do the left-hander and the right-hander. Let's stay on this a bit, and you can get an idea of where the finish line is when we get to the end of the race. Yunk out of corner number 10. Is there enough time to snake to win? Perhaps. Perez right behind him. They come up and they cross the line right now. So DJ, if you're going to do it, you need a great run out of 11.
You really do, and normally that's not enough time to really take full advantage of the draft if you're thinking about traditional corners, but the way 10 and 11 are at this track, turn 10 is virtually flat out. You're just going to need a little bit of a lift to get it done. Turn 11, like we said earlier, just a quick brush of the brake. So you're carrying so much speed through those final 2 corners, you can take advantage of the draft. You just got to time it absolutely perfectly and try to get on the power a hair earlier. Coming out of 11, you can make it work. But up front, here we go. Looks like we're about to go wide again as Perez makes a move to the inside, and Giro says, I want some of that as well.
They love to go 3 wide in Formula Neagle. It has become a popular thing to do. It looks scary, but these guys have got it down to a science. Ludwig Sauer! Sauer has had an incident, and I believe it involved Lukel as well. Sauer, this is weird. This almost may be a mechanical problem here. We have...
No,
he got punched.
I think Lukel ran into the back of Sauer there. That caused everybody to get just collected behind him. Almost reminiscent of an oval wreck there, Soup, with guys just having nowhere to go.
Yeah, indeed, boy. The track was blocked. Frederick Neptune involved in it. We mentioned Sauer. Nick Carty did a good job of avoiding the incident.
We're hearing in our ear that that was a hardware problem, apparently. Something went wrong there. That was not contact from Eric Lukel. So apologies to the Eric Lukel fan brigade there. We are not putting any blame on him for that.
Yeah, it looked like it because it was so close, but I had initially a real good view of it. I knew there was, unless it was a major ghost contact, which it wasn't. So let's check back up front now because the plot begins to thicken, or in this case, maybe thin, as Perez and Yunk and Garros maybe have got a little bit of distance now on a Lard Potocek as they almost make contact, and we got ourselves our first pitter.
A couple of pitters there. That's Perez, Giros, it looks like, as well as Allard and Vandeveld behind them. So these guys are peeling off early. I would have expected to go maybe another 5 minutes on a tank of fuel, but these guys going for the undercut. Now, Soup, we talked about how this caught out some guys last season, but here's the one caveat that I'm going to give with all of these guys pitting. They're not going to lose time getting caught out without a draft partner. They're all going to be able to come out together and keep speed up. So this is going to make things very, very interesting.
As they roll out of the pits, what is fascinating is what Yus Yunk is going to do. He's out there singing an Eric Carmen tune all by myself as he's got nobody to race with. You got to figure he's got to come in, get that pit stop so he can find somebody to have some fun with. They roll out of the pits. And it looks like Perez was first out with Garros a long way back. Garros and Allard. Perez, the fastest stop of the bunch.
So good stops all around, and you saw there Yunk by himself, but Soup, I'm going to make mention of two guys we've been talking about a lot during this race. You see a little bit of positions there as we watch Perez on your screen. Burns and Podacek, though. Both of these guys, they stayed out. You see them there on your screen. They stayed out. They've got draft partners. I think the cards are in their hand at this point. My gut instinct says advantage Podacek, advantage Burns.
The good news for the junkyard dog, car number 16, Yush Yunk, is he is really quick on his own. He probably doesn't need a partner. He's coming into corner number 9 right now. I'm surprised if he decides to go another lap. We'll see what happens. His pit entrance is coming up. He's going to have the left-hander that is corner number 10, and then he'll have to make the decision.
As here they go working their way through. The other guys behind him, you just saw in the back of your screen, that's Crook and Lucetta also staying out. But here we go. Who's going to bite on the pit lane? Yunk indeed does. Ooh, but Burns gets a little wide, but Podacek right behind him. So, sorry, that was Podacek getting a little wide, Burns right behind him. So, here it is. Yunk in the pits, Podacek and Burns staying out.
Let's go ahead now and pick up Perez. Car number 89. He is just going through corner number 10. We want to see how he comes across the line in relationship to Yunk. DJ, you called it when you said that Podacek and Burns have a partner. They can afford to stay out and race for a while. Young could not.
Exactly. I think you read the writing on the wall. As here you see that is Perez going on by. It looks like Yonk is out and going, but Perez is going to breeze on by him at this point. Allard, I think, is just behind him there, so that's where it's going to be.
Yeah, they're going to need a little bit of as we ride on board. Looking up ahead there with, there's Perez and Yunk. You're going to have to do a little bit of work to get together. May cost them some time. Meanwhile, Podacek, and David Burns are out there just putting in hot laps.
They are indeed. We tick down under 19 minutes to go, meaning we are halfway through with this race. And so now Burns and Podacek in the catbird seat. We're ready to see what they're going to do. Soup, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to stretch this maybe one more lap. I also wouldn't be surprised if they dive in here.
Want to go back to car number 63 in third position. This is Christopher Crook and Manuel Lucetta. These guys have been racing together the whole time. Remember, they were in that big train. That was the second train that were trying to catch up. Well, disaster struck that second train. These guys managed to avoid all of that. And now they're doing their very best to get up front. They got about 5 seconds, though, to get to Podacek. A tick under 6, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky for them to get up there, but seeing where the rest of those leaders spaced out, Allard, Giros, and Vandevelde, I think they would be in contention to be able to get up to them potentially. As we watch here, Podacek and Burns staying out once again, so they're not going to peel into the pits this lap, but it looks like that is going to be Christopher Crook coming in.
Look on the tower there. You can see in 12th position, there he is, Perez. You can see the interval that he is back. 27 seconds between him and Burns. Burns and Podacek trying to hot lap their way around. 27 seconds. I don't know if that's enough for Burns and Podacek to get in and out and leave those guys behind. I think when it's all said and done, Perez will be right back in the mix.
I think you're right. We're seeing the full pit stop delta here at about 37 seconds. So it's going to be very, very tricky. And I think it looks like right now Perez is going to be able to clear unless unless a miracle happens. But Yonk behind him by about 1.5 seconds. So Yonk having all the work to do here.
Quick scan through the pit stop times. They all looked very similar. Perez was in there for about 15 seconds. Yunk was in there for 13.2. Allard for 14.8. The one that I'm worried about is Bambi, Neil Bambi. He did an 11.1. Boy, that's awfully short for Bambi.
Yeah, that's a mega short field. So Bambi's going to have to be probably very, very cautious on that loud pedal. Try to take some advantage of the draft and drive like you're running at Daytona and try to save as much fuel as possible. But we stay here with Podacek and Burns as they make their way down the backstretch in between the heel and the toe of the boot. And they're content to stay in line here. Podacek, I think, very happy to just take full advantage of Burns' draft in front of him.
Lucchetta now out there racing all by himself as Christopher Crook made that stop. Can we look at car number 42, Eric Lukal? He's racing in 14th position, and there is Crook right behind him. Now, Lukal made up some time. Meanwhile, our leaders working their way through as a time. One says yes, the other says yes. Here they come.
So
That's it. Let's go ahead and pick up Perez right now, as he's the guy they're trying to beat out.
You read my mind, Soup. They dive into the pits. That is Perez right there working his way into turn 10. I have got to think that is not enough time for these guys to get out to really challenge him, but I have been proven wrong before. Two drivers come to a stop in their pits as Perez works his way onto the main straight right now.
There is Perez. Burns sits. Burns starts to roll. Perez is out. He's by. Yunk is by. Burns is going to slot in about 8 to 10 car lengths behind Yus Yunk.
So that strategy not working out perfectly for those guys, but it did allow them to jump up ahead of Allard and Garros there. They are now going to be right behind Yus Yunk, though, and be able to take full advantage of that draft. So it looks like right now Christian Perez controlling the field. This is his race as of this moment, but Burns and Podacek really going to be putting Yus Yunk in their sights right now.
Meanwhile, car number 91, Manuel Lucchetta, hoping for, I don't know, rain or some type of natural disaster to hit the Finger Lakes area of New York and this race to be called. They've gone halfway. I don't think that's going to happen. This guy, the last driver to make a stop, well, Troy Banks still needs to come in. He's in third. It's got to be this time around for the Italian.
I would think it has to be. Looking at the standings right now, I'm thinking he's going to slot out around 7th or 8th. It's probably going to put him right in between Christopher Garros and Johan Vandevelde as he makes his way through that turn 10. Watching him, I can't imagine a world in which he stays out one more lap, but we shall have to see.
So when he comes in, order will be restored. The bad news for everybody is your pole sitter, Christian Perez. You know he's fast, and he's got himself about a 2.5 second lead back to, well, it would be Yus Yunk.
Yeah, he's got himself a good gap there, but I'm thinking it's going to be very difficult for anybody to really put the pressure onto Perez here. Yeah, as we talk about it, he sets the fastest lap with a 2:09.824.
Lucchetta is in, Perez goes by, Burns goes by as well, Podacek and Allard go by, Gareth Vandevelde go by. Finally, Lucchetta comes out, and he slots right in behind a lap driver of Peter Reed. Well ahead of Christopher Crook, though. Remember, it was Crook and Lucchetta that were in that battle. Lucchetta gets the best of the pit stops. Okay. I'm hearing for a call for a commentator's curse. I don't want to give it to these guys. I like them. Let's go to somebody I don't know as well. Let's go to car number 89, Christian Perez, our leader. There he is. Boy, 3.6 seconds, and he's your pole sitter. GJ, I think only a commentator's curse or lack of fuel is going to cost him a win.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Soup. With Anderson not in the field, it looks like Christian Perez is trying to take that title of the best here, and he's certainly putting on a good performance at Watkins Glen, using every inch of that track coming through turn 7 as he makes his way down that little mini straight towards turn 8. He just has these guys dead to rights. You can see behind him there, that is Burns and Yunk in the back of your screen, having a good little battle themselves, but don't have anything on Christian Perez at this moment.
DJ, I'm going to put you on the spot. You covered the F2s. Do you remember what the cutoff line for iRating is? Was it 2200? Is that your thinking?
I believe it's 2,300, if I remember.
When I look at this, I'm looking at the F2 drivers that are doing well. Potocek, I see, has an I rating of just under 21. Garros is in that mix as well. So I think those are the guys that are going to do well in the F2. Got to go all the way down. I'm not even sure Luke's going to qualify this time. It's looking at his I rating, it's just a tick under 24. You know, you win the F2 title. Maybe you shouldn't get to race in it again.
Yeah, kind of make it like real life Formula 2. That if you win the championship, you got to bump up a rank.
Glad you're with us, man. 10 minutes of racing plus to go here. Christian Perez racing out of the Iberian Peninsula. Soup's going to take a shot at this one. Is it Portugal? Is it Spain? I'd take a shot. I like Spain on this one.
I feel like that's a pretty solid bet.
Tune in next week to see if that's right. Let's look at the battle back here for second position. Yunk goes around Burns.
That draft coming into effect again. Yunk able to put it on, but David Burns not letting him get away, ticking under, just under as of now, 10 minutes to go. I think this is going to be a swap back and forth. And Soup, we've seen David Burns do this before, where he just lets the driver go ahead of him and spends the next 10 minutes figuring out when he's got to be the one to make that pass. So I would not be surprised if this order stays the same until we see the white flag.
And David Burns knows you don't win the championship in the first race. All he needs to do, get a good points day, come back to fight again. Yunk knows that as well. Yunk looking to pick up his first crown. Burns looking to get his third. And, of course, Christian Perez, new to the scene. Let's drop back. We'll talk about some of these battles, DJ. We got Allard in another battle here with Potocek. That car off to the side there, that's the slow car of Stefan Lloyd. Does a good job of getting out of the way. Allard and Potocek, nice battle.
Yeah, it really is. We're seeing, about the top 6 breaking out into these little 2-car battles. Burns and Yonk, Allard and Potocek, Garros and Vandeveld. And right now, Potocek just trying to work his way around. You see him take a little bit of a shallower line there through turn 10. That's really going to help him now as they get the exits here. You see Allard getting squirrely and Potocek starting to put the pressure on here. He is close enough. He may have a look into one, but I think he's going to think better of it and just try to go for the draft down this long straightaway through the S's. There they go. They both run wide. You want to skip that rumble strip to get the re-entry. If you try to re-enter on the rumble strip, it can very much upset the car. But here comes Potocek up through the S's. This is where that timing is key. It looks like he's got the draft about right. He's going to want to poke to the inside here. Indeed, he does. Potocek going for the move into 4th place.
You can see on the tower to the left. You got Burns and Young close together. You got Allard and Potocek close together. Vandeveld and Garros, and now Neil Bamber getting in the mix. Let's check in on them and see how that's working. There's Neil Bamber sitting in 8th position. I don't want to be Chicken Little and say the sky is falling, but I worry about the amount of fuel that he's got in there. And look who's coming. Watch out for this driver as the season progresses. Car number 91, Manuel Luqueta. We saw him be really fast last season. He's going to be good. Had a horrible qualifying. Started in 14th. He's been really quick, and he's got a buffet of positions there to fill up on his plate.
He really does. As you saw there through the inner loop, Johan Vandeveld getting a little bit wide and getting a little bit wide again. Whoa, I gotta think if he's maybe just suffering a hair of damage from that incident we saw him have earlier on. That car just doesn't look like it's good. They go 2x2. There's contact there, I think. Something off on the cars.
I think Neil Bamber tried to do a little bit of bump trapping into Skippy and ended up with a little bit of rhinoplasty as he's now lost his nose. Again, it could be, that's not going to help his fuel mileage now as that wind's going right down to his feet. This is where the action is. There's 2-car battles up in front. This is where I think something's going to break out here. We look at this. Garros, Vandeveld, Luqueta, and Bamber.
Yeah, I think you're right, Sue. Most of the other leaders just kind of holding everything together, but this is the fun part of the action. You see there is now it looks like Luqueta's going to have a good run here on Vandeveld. Maybe trying to make something work into turn 1. He dives to the inside, certainly going to try to think about it. He goes for it. Got to be careful not to get into Gyros in front. They're going to go side by side through turn 1. It looks like they are not going to have any advantage decided. They're going to keep side by side through the S's.
In this smorgasbord, he already put the sausage of Bamber on his plate. Now he's working on the meatball. Here as he is side by side with Vanderbilt, and I think he's going to get that as well. And he's in the draft. Look at this. He's going to be behind Garros. Is there room? I'm going to go right here. He ducks car number, his car down in there. Car number 91, side by side. He's going to have to work on the outside. He gets them all. That's a full plate of food.
Oh, that was a late break move there from Lucchetta, but some great driving from him. Really taking advantage. He did that absolutely perfectly. When he moved out to the inside through the S's, he was able to take advantage of that draft off Gyros, like you said, so move him up those spots. But it certainly looks like Gyros and Vanderbilt are not going to let him go easily.
Just a tick over 2 seconds to get up to a lard. All this going on behind our leader, Christian Perez. Your commentator will do a little research. We'll dig in, find some up-close and personal information on Christian for next round. Hope that he's back with us. Find out if he's employed or a student, if he's married, single, his favorite color. And with the name Christian, they want me to check on the gender. I feel confident that he is of the masculine persuasion. Let's drop back to 4th position. Vocek, Podacek, and Ricard Millard. I'm confident these are both males as well. Podacek out in front here with just a tick over 4 minutes to go.
So there's probably going to be 2, maybe 3 laps left at this rate. Is there you see, just trying to make a move there. Allard is on Podacek, thinking about it, but now he's going to want to pull back a little bit. This is what we talked about, timing this pass right up through the S's. You got to be very careful. Almost no downforce in these skippies. It's all mechanical grip, so you've got to be nice and soft on the pedal. If you lose anything, there you go, Podacek sliding out to the outside. That's going to let Allard on through. It looks like he's going to have that position. Podacek now just sticking to the outside, waiting, and yep, they're going to be nice and easy. As behind him, we're going 3 wide.
Oh, man, they are still working. So now it's Vanderbilt back in. Careful, oh, they touch behind. Garros and Lucchetta get together there, okay. Holy moly. Doing his very best to hang in there on light fuel is Neil Bamber. He's got no fuel, he's got no nose, but he's hanging in there inside the top 10, racing in 9.
Oh, I feel like somebody needs to tell Manuel Lucchetta that we're not racing with fenders here. There's a lot of bumping and banging going into that bus stop chicane, but everybody keeping it together nice and easy and putting on a heck of a show, as that is now Lucchetta up ahead of Gyros and trying to chase down Johan Vanderbilt in front.
And I'll tell you what's happening is Vanderbilt's closing on Podacek. I checked in a while ago. It was 2.2. The interval is 1.7. I can do the math. They've knocked off a half a second. Don't know if 2.5 minutes is enough time for them to get there as Allard and Podacek continue to battle.
Yeah, this battle really keeping up. You're sort of seeing that leapfrog strategy come into effect. And now that they are close enough with that, they just saw in my timing and scoring ticking down under 1.5 seconds for Vanderbilt to Podacek. So that draft is going to start coming into play. Soup, I gotta think this is going to make things very, very spicy for this position.
Could be an issue of when they cross the line, how many laps are actually left. Vanderbilt hoping for as many as they're possible, assuming he has enough fuel to get there, as he's faster than the guys up in front. Quick check-in on Burns and Young. That has settled down a little bit. Burns now with about a 4, 5, 6 car length lead on the Junkyard Dog.
Yeah, he's just slowly starting to pull away here from Jos Young. Young not really putting up too much of a fight, and he's gaining all of that area through sectors 2 and 3. So after this main long drag strip of a run, Looks like Burns is just very much saying, nope, you know what? I'm not even going to give you the opportunity to draft me here.
I always get this wrong, but I think it's safe to say as soon as Perez comes across the line, we're going to be getting the white flag, yeah. We have 1:07 to go. Perez now just going into the toe as we follow. Well, there he is. There he is. He goes across the laces, through the toe, down to the sole, heading towards the heel. Boy, if you were a cobbler, this would be the racetrack for you to call, wouldn't it?
It most certainly would. There you see him working his way out of that, getting ready to line up here. Turn 9, that blind left-hander we've talked about. Perez just putting on an absolute masterclass of a clinic and really and truly trying to say to the world, I am the new Lee Anderson. But David Burns behind him, able to really pull a big gap there to Hughes Junk, just stretching that even further. Don't think he's going to be close enough to challenge Perez, but here comes Christian ready to take the white flag.
Now look what's going on back here for 4th position. This is Potocek, Allard, and then we talked about him. Lucchetta is there. I don't know if he has enough time. Vanderbilt is there. He is about 6 car lengths
in the
back.
pits.
Young was in. There was a reason he was falling off of Burns' pace. That's your championship hopes gone right there from lack of fuel calculations.
Oh my goodness, so that's going to change everything up, but we're going to focus back on this battle as that 2 different trains has now turned into one big, long train. Potocek, Allard, Lucchetta, Vanderbilt, Giros, all line astern here. This is where that draft comes into effect. Soup, we're going to see many, many cars wide as they come out of the S's. Here comes the move from Allard.
Gets that done. Allard now is Potocek behind, but here comes 91. Lucchetta. He gets the pass made on Potocek. Is there room? He tries to squeeze through on the inside. Boy, Allard does not leave him a lot of ground. Lucchetta is not done as he continues to fight. Working left, working right, working both sides of the street like a jaywalking mailman, trying to find his way around. Perez is still not to the finish line yet. We can stay on this one as they work their way down into the chute.
And there he goes. You can see him taking different lines there. That's Lucchetta trying to take a little bit of an over-under, and I think he's going to get just enough. Good momentum off the line. That's going to put him on a disadvantage, though, for this right-hander. He's going to have to make it work around the outside of Allard. Allard's going to hold the line, both trying to get the power on. Lucchetta pushing. Not enough to make it work, but they're still side by side.
What a power move through the turn. Now they go to the boot. Lucchetta's going to have to do it again. He was to the outside through the toe. He's going to have to do it one more time through the heel. They touch. It finally happens. They gather it both up. Look, they're still racing. Lucchetta gathers and they make contact. There goes Vanderbilt on the inside. It's full right, then bang again. All 3 of them are off as we go to the leader. Perez coming out of the final corner. He is going to pick up the win. We will go back and look at that battle. It was bound to happen. But season 23, the season opener, goes to Christian Perez. That is David Burns, who did a great job of closing.
And here is Johan. He said he was going to be fast, and indeed he is. He's going to cross the line to take P3.
Christmas comes late for the fan belt as he picks up the podium. Potocek, I think, might have ran out of fuel. He limps it. No, I guess that's his from the damage. We'll come back and look at the battle that took place. You knew it was going to happen. Holy moly, mother, cover my eyes. I've seen enough to know I've seen too much. All right, we'll go back, TJ, and take a look at this. When it comes up, tell me what you see.
What I see is a bunch of really, really good side-by-side action. There you see Lucchetta on the outside of Allard there. They come down. Now, this is working their way towards turn 8. Get a little bit shifty there. Going to just kind of show each other's nose. Now, they come through here. Lucchetta's got the advantage. Way more speed around the outside. They come together. Lucchetta comes out onto the grass, tries to get it back under control. That pushes him into Allard. Allard gets into Giros. Giros gets on, and it looks like Allard just didn't realize that Lucetta was right there, and he turned in a bit early. That collected him, popped him up in the air, gear us a bit of a passenger, and that allowed for Vanderbilt to move his way on up there and get that podium position.
Potocek sneaks through, and Vanderbilt gets third. When it's all said and done, my goodness, Formula Eagle never fails to put on a good show. And it was indeed the fuel from Potocek that cost him positions. That's why Lucetta and Christopher Crook steals himself a top 5 position. What we'll do is run down the entire finishing order when we come back from break. So don't go far. I hope you enjoyed the first round of Formula Eagle Season 23. Back in a few. Sanctioned by the Absolute Beginner League from Watkins, Glen, this is the Global SimRacing Channel's opening round coverage of the Formula Eagle Season 23 Championship. The opening round is in the books. Yes, the story is our pole sitter, Christian Perez, who didn't go wire to wire, but he looks to be a force to be reckoned with for the championship. David Third Degree Burns, two-time champion, picks up a good points day in second. He said it was going to happen before the race. We didn't think it was going to happen. I'm talking about Johan Vanderbilt, the fan belt. Said he'd get a podium, and he got one. Now, there was a little bit of a late Christmas gift for that, as Manuel Lucetta got into it with a few other drivers. Lucetta was able to sneak his way into fourth. How about a tip of the hat to Christopher Crook? Crook and Lucetta were battling for most of the race. They separated. Crook will get a top 5. Potocek ran out of fuel, which cost him maybe a podium spot. Eric Lukal in the hunt for the F2 crown, if he's available, down there in 7th. Another driver who had to make an extra pit stop, the Junkyard Dog, Used Young. Boy, I have something to say about everything. How about Mikkel Gustafsson, a very quiet 9th position? And it is Josh Peaky in the Brain in 10th. GJ?
Nick Carty able to bring the car home in 11th place, followed by Eric Lundberg. Neil Bamber not making it work with that short stop in 13th. R.A. Sejas in 14th, followed by Merrick Liolas in 15th. Patrick O'Leary 16th. Jeffrey Brewer in 17th. Joe Turner McMullen 18th. Troy Banks 19th. And Cooper Collier in 20th.
Remember, bonus points for staying on the lead lap, so all these guys will pick up one. Kai Alstad in the blackjack position. The double deck spot goes to Tom Holland. Craig Schill in the 23rd position. Double dozen spot for Frederick Neptune. Jason Guerra in the quarter century mark with Ludwig Sauer well down the order in 26th. Taylor Reeder behind him. Lionel Chavez in 28th. 29th and 30th, Paul Clark and Tom Dell.
In 31st was Wesley Johnson, followed by Andre Salander in 32nd, Andy Sowers and Mackenzie Mann 33rd and 34th. That is going to be at the end of your guys on the lead lap picking up that bonus point. Ricardo Lard, Christopher Giros involved in that last lap accident, unable to get their cars back around. They're going to come home 35th and 36th. Peter Reed in 37th. Stephen Lloyd in 38th, only one lap down. Tito Bonilla, you saw him get involved in that accident. He finished 5 laps down, and Vincent Bream 11 laps down, also suffering at the hands of an accident.
There you go, and you can see the last 3 drivers that didn't start. So there you have it. All right, let's go ahead to interviews. I don't have our winner, although I am very fluent in Spanish. So if Christopher Perez wants to come in here, I can ask him, ¿A dónde vas con tanta prisa? That's the only line I remember from high school Spanish, but it works when you got a winner. Let's talk to David Burns in second, third degree. David, there always seems to be some new guy that comes in the fly in the ointment, huh?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. By the way, I have trouble speaking Scottish, never mind Spanish. But I was thinking that because in the practice I thought, where's Lee? Where's Lee? Oh, I thought, wow, great, got a chance. And then Christian turns up and he's got the same iRating as Lee. Yeah, but he's really fast. He's good.
That was a fun one up front. We talk about it early on, and maybe if we're wrong about it, tell us, but it seems to DJ and I that you are in no real big desire to lead the race early on. Are we right about that, or is this just you don't have the pace to get there?
You're totally spot on. It's just I don't want to be at the front. Being at the front means you're using more fuel, and a race like Watkins Glen, no matter which layout, you always benefit from being in the draft early on if you have to have a pit stop. So my strategy was be between 3rd to 6th or 7th, as long as they were keeping in touch. And from the first few laps, I could judge that they weren't trying to overtake or trying to make too many risky moves. So, which you always have to keep an eye on Just because sometimes he does. So yeah, I didn't plan to be at the front.
Well, it worked out well for you. It's all about points. You know that it's a short season, but you can't afford to make a mistake. Young, short-filled, that could be the championship right there.
Yeah, and I thought I would have got Christian on the line there, but nope, not quite. He managed to get there. So still P2.
Indeed. I thought it was closer than we thought. We almost didn't catch that. Congratulations. Good point save. We'll see you down the road.
Cheers, guys.
All right. There you have a second place for David. Third degree beer two-time champion. All right, DJ, you get a fun one. Who you got?
I've got Johan Vandervelde. Johan, you promised a good result and you delivered, my friend.
Yeah, no worries. Already on lap 1, I thought, let's give the guys a good show and make it 3 wide going into the chicane. But that was a fantastic race and a result I did not expect that I would get before the race started. I had a lot of luck in qualifying with being in Eric Leukel's draft on exactly the right moment, on exactly the right lap, and that gave me P3. And in the race, I could stay with the top guys because of the draft. It was a shame that I fell back at one point. I had some contact with Christian Perez, and that gave me a little knock on my wheel, and that made me drop back, and I was just not able to have the same pace. So I dropped behind after the pit stops. I did my best to catch up with the guys again, and in the end, the seas opened, and I got a podium.
You did indeed, and we were actually speculating on that. I mean, how much damage did you pick up? Was it looked like you were maybe fighting a little bit of understeer, or was that just commentators being a little crazy?
It wasn't really understeer. It was just instability. The right front got a knock, so it was like not like a wheel should be. It had too much camber, and that really wreaked havoc in the corners. Car was just really unstable, very oversteery, and I had to wait until the earliest moment to make a pit stop so I could fix it.
Gotcha. Well, it was a great run, and just talk me through very quickly your mindset, seeing that wreck develop going into turn 9 on that last lap.
Yeah, so the thing was that Wojtek already was running out of fuel. Wojtek is my teammate, so we were in contact with each other. So I saw him dropping back, and that meant that I was a little bit too far behind to actually do anything. So I was already setting myself for a P6, P7 finish. But then Rickard and Manuel had some contact, and they went free wide into the corner. And I could see on my right side a contact again between Rickard and Christopher that slowed all of them down. And then I saw a gap on the inside. So I was like, I'm just going to put Manuel a little bit under pressure, and maybe I can get one of them. After that happened, though, I think that Manuel went over Rickard's right rear tire, and that just gave a lot of carnage.
Johan, it's Soup here. We talked a little bit about you coming back to race this race only. Let's talk a little bit about your romance. What's your girl's name?
Her name is Karma.
Okay, now listen to Uncle Soup. Here's what you do. I know that you can only see her on the weekends and you don't want to lose that time with her for iRacing. Cook yourself a nice dinner. Have her come over. You prepare the dinner. Say, honey, I got to step away for 40 minutes to get this done. Give her some headphones and put it on the big screen and come back. That's your romantic evening. Okay, buddy?
Oh, perfect. I'll let her know that Uncle Soup told me to say that.
Okay, there you have it. Congratulations with the podium. Good luck in the real world events as well.
See you guys soon.
All right, Johan Vanderbilt picks up a third place finish. Indeed, you get a lot of advice here. We'll tell you how to race. We'll tell you how to find yourself some romance as well. That'll do it here for us on the Global SimRacing Channel. Tune in next week to see what happens with Johan Vanderbilt. Thanks to the Absolute Beginner League for organizing Formula Neagle and contracting with GSRC to broadcast. And thanks to the company's equipment and software you see on the screen right now that we use on the broadcast. The original music that gives every GSRC production that unique flavor and feel. That's courtesy of June Lalonde. See the screen for more contact information. On screen now are some of the upcoming broadcasts, so check those out and mark them on the calendar. And if you check those, you'd know that Formula Eagle returns in 2 weeks. That's January 17th. But this commentator has no idea where that's going to be because he didn't put it in the script. Oh, we're going to Italy. It's Imola. That'll be fun. If you'd like more information about GSRC, including a complete list of future broadcasts, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Hey, and while you're here, become one of our YouTube subscribers by hitting that button. If you're looking for a unique gift, don't forget our merchandise store. That is gsrc.storeenvy.com. You can pick up some good stuff there. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, that would be DJ, Sean, and Dougie. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, as it was indeed the newcomer, Christian Perez, picking up the opening round win here in season 23 for Formula Neagle at Watkins Glen. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.